On today's show, despite a monster 30.16 rebound performance from Alperen Sengun, the Houston Rockets get outmathed by the Indiana Pacers. A 19-5 three-point advantage. This Rockets team has got to start shooting the basketball more, and Ime Udoka, post-game, says there are no plans to bench Jalen Green. We're going to talk about it all coming up right here on Locked On Rockets.
This is Mission Control, Houston.
Ignition sequence start.
Throw it up to Jalen Green.
Sengun here in the short row. Oh, my, that's the no-look.
Jabari for three and the win. Yeah!
Look at Tari, Eason.
Here comes Tari. No!
T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal.
The Houston Rockets select Ime Thompson and Cam Whitmore.
One thing I have never done is not made the playoffs, and so we want to take that step here as well.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast, home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. As always, I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, native Houstonian and credentialed media member. I'm also the host of Locked On NBA Mondays. Be sure to follow along on Twitter at JT Gatlin, and the show, of course, at Locked On Rockets, free and available wherever you listen to your podcasts, including YouTube. Just go to YouTube, search Locked On Rockets, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. We've got a lot coming up for you on today's episode, a lot to get into with this Rockets 123-117 loss against the Indiana Pacers. Alperen Sengun's monster night. Fred VanVleet helping spearhead the comeback in the fourth quarter. Jalen Green not with his minutes low as an NBA player, just 20 minutes played in this game, and Ime Udoka's post-game thoughts on Jalen Green's role moving forward with this team. A lot to get into. And as always, thank you so much for making Locked On Rockets part of your day every single day, whether it's on your way to work, on your lunch break, in the gym. Thank you for making the show part of your day. Thank you for being an everydayer. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off of your first purchase. And you know what really sucks is the Rockets were like right here. I mean, the Rockets were in this game. They were winning with less than 2 minutes to go. Fred VanVleet drove the ball in transition, took a shoulder bump, made a floater, and the Rockets had the 117-115 lead in this game. And that is despite the fact that the Pacers were absolutely on fire from long distance. Look, the NBA's number one offense versus the NBA's number two defense, and the number one offense won out. And almost didn't. That's the crazy thing is this Rockets team just desperately needs some three-point shooting, y'all. Like it is absolute pain. You look at the final box score. First off, Tyrese Haliburton went absolutely insane. It's a little disrespectful that Haliburton shot 7 of 13 from 3, 7-1-3 in Houston. He had 33 points on 13 of 21 shooting, had 10 dimes. And the Pacers as a team shot 19 of 43 from downtown, 44.2%. Meanwhile, the Rockets are stuck in like the mid-90s. They shot 5 of 24 from three-point range for a smidge under 21%. That's just not going to get it done in today's NBA, y'all. It's just not good enough. They need more three-point shooting. But despite the fact that they are playing like some ugly 90s basketball as far as what their shot profile looks like, they were in this game. They had 74 points in the paint. Alperen Sengun had a monster night. More on him a little bit later. 30 points on 11 of 20 shooting. He was really kind of having his way with the Pacers defense. Miles Turner didn't have an answer for him. Nesmith, Jalen Smith, it didn't matter who they put on him. Obi Toppin, Alpy was outworking everybody. And the Rockets took the lead there with less than 2 minutes to go, 117-115. And then they went scoreless the rest of the way. Jabari Smith Jr. got a good look at a three. Alperen Sengun had an opportunity with a dunk. And Tari Eason had an opportunity with a layup. Now, the Jabari Smith Jr. three was a good look. didn't go in. Jabari's offense was Jabari really struggled in this game offensively up until that fourth quarter, where he finally woke up and started hitting some shots. So he finished the game 12 points, 5 of 11 shooting, at 8 boards, had an assist, had a steal, had a couple blocks. His defense and his rebounding is what kept him in the game. And it's a good thing that he did wake up and hit a few shots there in the fourth quarter to keep the scoreboard rolling for the Rockets as part of their comeback. It's just unfortunate that he missed that last three, because that would have been a huge shot. Game tied up 117 all, would have put the Rockets ahead by comfortable, not comfortable, would have put them ahead by 3. That could have been a game-changing shot right there. And then Alperen Sengun had the chance to had his attempted dunk. Rockets had a full timeout, down 120-117. They ran a good play. Alperen Sengun driving into the rim, tries to dunk the basketball. And at the time, in real time, and then even on the replay that we got in Toyota Center, I didn't think Alp got fouled. And then after, and I said as much on social media. I was like, guys, I really, like, everybody was up in arms about this Alp foul. And I was like, what foul? What phantom foul are we looking at here? The angles that I saw the angle on the Toyota Center Jumbotron, and I saw the angle that I had because I was recording on my phone, and I went back and zoomed in and looked at it. I didn't see much contact, if any, because it very much looked like Miles Turner just very it looked like he barely touched Alp on the shoulder. And I was like, look, if somebody had called that call on the Rockets, I would have been pissed. And so I was like, that's how I know that it wasn't a foul. But then I saw a different angle. Shout out to Clutch fans, Dave Hardesty, who posted the clip, and I found it a little bit later on after doing all the post-game interviews and everything. And that angle showed the floor angle of Miles Turner, who clearly was holding Alp's shoulder down when he elevated for the dunk. Which probably it caused Alp, because I thought he just lost the ball on the dunk attempt. And it clearly, he was fouled by Miles Turner. Miles Turner was playing with 5 fouls, and it's always weird. Different officiating crews handle things differently, right? Sometimes they let a player with 5 fouls get away with being a little bit more physical, or get away with a foul or two at the end of a game, rather than, call something that maybe in the first quarter or the first 3 quarters would have definitely been a foul. It's very frustrating to have that happen in the closing moments of a game where, had Alp not gotten contact from Miles Turner on that play, he dunks that ball, and then the game is 120-119 with a little under a minute to go, and the Rockets are very much still in it, right? So I don't know. It's tough to deal with that one, but even then, the Rockets still had another chance even after that one missed out, where Tari Eason missed a layup with just over 20 seconds to go, which would have cut it to a 3-point game. And at that point, the Rockets probably would have had to do the free throw, fouling, whatever, back and forth. And, it sucks, because the Rockets really did a good job, down by as many as, I believe, 12 in this game. I want to say they trailed by as many as 12. Trailed by as many as 12 in this game. They fought back into this game. They didn't hang their heads, and they dealt with a lot of adversity, dealing with the fact that they were getting just flat out cooked by the Pacers offense. Again, the math is there. The Rockets shot so many more shots than the Pacers in this game, 97 to 82 field goal attempts. The Pacers just 3 is greater than 2. How many years did we pride ourselves on 3 being greater than 2 for the Houston Rockets during the James Harden era? And now it's coming back to bite the Rockets in the butt, because they're playing some kind of version of mid-90s basketball. They need more shooting. The Rockets lost this game because they don't have enough shooting. That is the simplest way to chalk up this loss. They need more shooting on this team. They need to put more shooting around Alperen Sengun. They have key pieces that could benefit from more shooting. Guys like Alperen Sengun, guys like Fred VanVleet, even guys like Ime Thompson, who can facilitate, can create open looks for their teammates. We saw some, exciting glimpses from Ime. Talk about that coming up, as well as Alperen Sengun's dominant game. This team needs more shooting. And the only way they're going to get more shooting is by making a trade, by playing a couple of guys that are buried on the bench currently and not in the rotation in Cam Whitmore and Reggie Bullock. But coming up, want to get into some of the specifics, some of what the standout performances in this game. Alperen Sengun, Fred VanVleet with a couple of strong nights from the Rockets starters. Ime Thompson with some flashes there in the second unit, as well as Tari, Eason, and Aaron Holiday making a huge impact off the Rockets bench. And Ime Udoka with no plans, he says, of benching Jalen Green anytime soon. We're going to get to all of that and so much more here in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Our partners at eBay Motors have teamed up with Locked On Fantasy Basketball host Josh Lloyd to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each and every week all season long. So whether you're prepping for a daily draft or scouting the waiver wire, every week we're going to provide you the players that are guaranteed to fit on your roster. So let's see who Josh has picked out for us on this week's eBay Guarantee Fit Fantasy Picks of the Week. And this week, we got a couple Rockets legends, former Rockets legends, that we got to highlight here. Dante Exum. Jason Kidd has said that when healthy, the Mavs are still planning on starting Dante Exum. His shooting will probably regress, but that role is incredibly enticing. Definitely a guy you want to be on the lookout for as far as his production on a per-minute basis. And then Isaiah Hartenstein. It appears Mitchell Robinson is out for the season, and Isaiah Hartenstein is the clear add if he is available, replacing Mitchell Robinson's minutes for the New York Knicks. So a couple of former Rockets to keep an eye out for here in fantasy basketball land. Now, Josh Lloyd from Locked On Fantasy Basketball is going to help you win your fantasy championship, and eBay Motors knows a championship team is all about each player being a perfect fit, same as with your vehicle. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you can make sure your ride stays running smoothly. Brake kits, LED headlights, roof rack, bumpers, whatever your baby needs, eBay Motors has it. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or your money back. Plus, at these prices, you're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. And continuing on here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast, home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Some exciting stuff as Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every single league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Some additional thoughts on this game, kind of just the game flow as well as the specific standout performances for the Rockets. I want to add one more point about the Rockets defense in this one. The Rockets did a great job, I felt like, of forcing turnovers from the Pacers. I believe 20 turnovers was their season high, if I'm not mistaken. I thought I saw that in the game notes from the Rockets. I don't have those pulled up, though, so maybe don't quote me on that with my voice that I'm using here on this podcast. 20 turnovers from the Pacers. Rockets had 15 steals, which is, I also believe, a season high. They did a really good job disrupting, playing passing lanes, forcing turnovers. The Rockets as a team did a really great job. Felt like crashing the glass, at least offensively, generating second chance points. They had 15 offensive rebounds. Alperen Sengun had 7 of them. 7 of his 16 boards in this game were offensive rebounds. The Rockets as a team, they had 22 second chance points. So they kind of kept themselves alive a little bit with the second chance points and the points off of turnovers. So the Pacers, again, 20 turnovers. The Rockets, 24 points off of those turnovers. The Pacers, one of the worst transition defense teams in the NBA. So the Rockets, getting out, running a little bit, scoring some points off of those turnovers. It was nice to see, and it kind of kept them in the game a little bit. But again, that math advantage for the Pacers, it was just too much. And you also look at the game that Tyrese Haliburton had, 33 points, 13 of 21 shooting. Look, Dillon Brooks was the primary defender on Tyrese Haliburton here in this game. And it's kind of unfortunate because Dillon was struggling with injury. He was struggling with a abdominal injury, apparently, and when he left the game in the third quarter after about 5 minutes played in the third, we got an update from Rockets PR that he wouldn't return. And it makes sense that he was dealing with an injury. I didn't know about it until about midway through the game, but it kind of matches the eye test because Dillon was really struggling as the primary on Tyrese Haliburton. Like, he was getting blown by pretty regularly. And there were some defensive lapses from Dillon that seemed very uncharacteristic, where you're like, what's going on with Dillon here? He's a trooper, though. He's a warrior. He was trying to play through injury. Credit to him for trying to give it a go, but he clearly wasn't 100%. I would imagine that if he left this game and didn't return due to injury, he's probably not going to be available for the second night of the back-to-back against the Phoenix Suns Wednesday night, which is concerning because Tari Eason, who has also basically been a game-time decision these last few games and was a game-time decision going into the Pacers game, probably not going to play the second night of a back-to-back. So it could be very thin pickings as far as the Rockets' rotation against the Pacers, which is doubly concerning since the Rockets are basically playing 4v5 at times with their starters because we don't know exactly what's going on with Jalen Green. More on that in the third and final segment. But Alperen Sengun had a monster game. He continues to have a monster game. What did Tari Eason say about Alperen Sengun?
Alperen Sengun is an all-star. I'm just letting everybody here know it. The Wizard is an all-star. You heard it here first.
Shout out to our Houston Rockets PA announcer, too, Jonathan Sanford, for dropping a wizard call over the Toyota Center intercom PA system. Alperen Sengun had an assist to Tari Eason in this game, and he makes the call. He's a Tari Eason with the slam or whatever it was, with the layup, or Tari Eason for two. I can't remember which bucket it was, but then the follow up was with the pass or with the dime from the Wizard, and I heard the Wizard over the intercom, and it was really cool. So the nickname is catching on. It's really cool stuff. I like the Wizard a lot more than I like the Flamingo nickname for his one-legged shot, which we haven't seen in a while. I feel like we haven't seen the Flamingo in a minute. Alperen Sengun in this game, 30 points, 16 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals. He did have 4 turnovers, 11 of 20 shooting, 8 of 9 at the free throw line. And that's, honestly, that's where I want to give Alp the most credit, is he's really worked on his free throw shooting. Like, it really feels like he's made a conscious effort to be better at the free throw line, putting in extra hours, putting in the extra work to be more comfortable. He knows he's going to get fouled. He knows he's going to get the free throw line a ton, and you got to be able to knock him down when you get there. 8 of 9 free throw shooting is absolutely phenomenal. And he's changed his free throw routine, too. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that. He doesn't whisper to the basketball anymore. He puts the basketball on his hip, like on his side, and he says something, and I haven't had a chance to ask him about it yet. He says something before he shoots the free throw, but he's not whispering to the basketball anymore, so I don't know, if that's part of his newfound free throw success or what, but Pacers had no answer for him. And largely, no team in the NBA has an answer for Alperen Sengun. Alp is so smart when it comes to figuring out defenses, and he had like that little rough stretch of games, and it looks like he's right back to playing like all-star level basketball. And we really do have to get to a point where when you see Alperen Sengun playing like this, the question really becomes, it's not even a question anymore. If he can give you this type of production, this is easily best player on a championship level team type of production. And he's done it consistently enough throughout a little more than a quarter of this season, and he's going to continue to produce at this level, that it makes you think, how do you, the Rockets need to start figuring out how to put pieces around Alperen Sengun that makes sense. Because if you just surround Alperen Sengun with good defenders and guys who can knock down threes at a 40% clip, this Rockets team is a top 4 seed in the Western Conference. It's that simple. He's that good. At 21 years old, he is that damn good. So I don't expect the Rockets to try and make sweeping roster changes in the middle of the season, but there is more than enough of a sample size now to show that A, the Rockets can be a top defense with Alperen Sengun in the middle, which is absurd. The Nuggets have never been a top 3 defense with Nikola Jokic. So they can do that. And then on top of that, they have a chance to be even more successful and even more potent offensively if they just put the right pieces around this 21-year-old phenom who routinely commands a double team, who is largely unguardable by opposing defenses and is oftentimes putting this team on his back and trying to drag them to wins. Not enough from Alperen Sengun, unfortunately. However, he does have some exciting company. The last three 21-year-olds to record 30-plus points, 15-plus rebounds, 5-plus assists, and 4-plus steals. Alperen Sengun just did it. Before him, Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson. So that's some exciting company for Alperen Sengun to be a part of as far as NBA history. But the Rockets desperately need to put some shooting around Alp. And it might not happen this season, but there's a reason why there are moments when the lineups that feature like Aaron Holiday and Tari Eason look a lot better than at times, you know, when Jalen is out there or when Jabari is out there, when he has been struggling from three, although he's been really good from three. Usually he struggled in this game, 0 of 5 3-point shooting, but largely, you know, when the Rockets put shooting around Alperen Sengun, good things happen. Ime Udoka did highlight it post-game, and he did say that there are moments that Alperen Sengun has to work on where he has to recognize when or how the defense is guarding him, especially late in games, because sometimes, like against the Pelicans, the Pelicans were being really aggressive when Alperen Sengun had the ball in the post late in games, whereas the Pacers were delaying a little bit, and it was not as instantaneous as far as drawing that second defender. So Alp just has to continue to grow and get better at reading and understanding, okay, bait. Okay, all right, here's the second defender, boom. And then passing out as soon as that second defender gets there, rather than holding it for a little bit too long, those kind of things, which again, feels like nitpicking, but that's the type of coach Ime Udoka is. He expects the most out of Alperen Sengun, which is part of the reason why I think that he is excelling the way that he has this season. Ime Udoka is routinely and consistently challenging Alp, and Alp has risen to that challenge this year, which is why he's playing at an all-star level. Coming up, final thoughts from this game, as well as Ime Udoka's commentary on Jalen Green's role with this team moving forward. We're going to get there in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Look, you shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next night out, your next concert, your next sporting event, whatever it is. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events happening near you. Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. They've got all-in prices, because you know what the worst feeling is when you're on a ticketing app, you're buying tickets for the event, you're trying to have a, go out with your partner or whatever. And you get to the checkout page, and then they're like, oh, hey, we added like $150 in fees or whatever for your tickets. That sucks, right? It's the worst feeling ever, because you're just like, why didn't you just tell me that there were all going to be these, convenience fee, handling fee, all that crap? It's awful. Game Time doesn't do that to you. They give you the all-in price. They show you exactly what you're going to pay up front. They don't spring those last-minute prices on you. And they're obsessed with finding you ways to save money on your tickets, because they'll have flash deals, zone deals. They've got all sorts of deals that you want to take advantage of, all up to and including like right before your event starts. So last minute deals, all that. You got to go check it out. They've even got like views from your seat, so you know exactly what to expect when you get to the venue. It really is a great ticketing app. It's the only way you should be getting your tickets these days. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off of your first purchase. Again, that's Game Time app. Download it. Use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account. Redeem code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And final segment here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Final thoughts from this Rockets 123-117 loss against the Indiana Pacers. I want to give some credit to Fred VanVleet here in this game. 18 points, 9 dimes, 2 steals, had a block. What? How did Fred get credited with a block? Anyways, that's always weird when that happens, when the shortest dude on the court gets a block shot. 7 of 18 shooting, not great. 1 of 7 from 3, also not great. I've said it before. It's worth repeating. Fred playing the most minutes per game in the NBA is clearly wearing him down. Alperen Sengun, same thing. Alperen Sengun looks flat out exhausted after some of these games, and he's still producing at a ridiculous rate. probably a little bit easier for Alp to produce when his shots are right there at the rim versus Fred, who has to rely on his legs. And it's just, what's the first thing to go? If you've ever played basketball in your life, right? When the moment you're tired and your legs start to go, your shot is gone. And it's really hard to expect Fred to be a consistent jump shooting threat. It's really hard to expect him to have that 3-ball stay consistent when he's being run ragged out there every single game because the team just falls off a cliff. Ime Udoka's words, the team falls off a cliff when Fred goes to the bench, which means that we need to see Amen Thompson and his minutes slowly increase and tick up, but it's also really hard to run Amen Thompson out there when the Rockets have no shooting to surround him with. There's a lot of problems with this Rocket. As good as this Rockets team is at 15-13 and slightly ahead of schedule, there's just certain like pieces that you're just like, they're so close. They're so close to being a really, really good team. They're just not quite there yet because they've got certain roster limitations and limitations with their personnel and what guys can and can't do. And Fred is just, I feel like that's easily one of the reasons that Fred is so inconsistent with his shot. I know historically he's been inconsistent, but historically he's also played a crap load of minutes. So lo and behold, what would happen if Fred was maybe getting like 33, 34 minutes a night and he was able to rest and not, have to play the entire first quarter or the entire third quarter and then check back in at the top of the fourth to give this team even a remote chance to win these games. Fred VanVleet's just a winning basketball player, man. He puts this Rockets team on his back. At one point when the Rockets went down 11 there, late in the game, he had a personal 5-0 run. It was an and one, got to the free throw line. So that's right, an and one layup, scored the ball, hit the free throw, came back down, scored another layup, forced an Indiana Pacers timeout. Just a personal little 5-0 run to pull the Rockets within 6. Fred just understands when the team needs a bucket, he's incredibly reliable. I like, there's a reason his nickname is Steady Freddy. He hits big time shots. It's just unfortunate that his 3-ball has been, kind of inconsistent as of late because he's one of the best shooters on the Rockets as a team. And when Fred goes 1 of 7 and Jalen goes 0 of 3 and Dillon goes, only attempts 1-3 because he clearly wasn't feeling well, was playing through injury. Jabari 0 of 5. It's just really tough to win a game. The fact that the Rockets were even in this game, the fact that the Rockets came back and took the lead in this game, where the Pacers were oh God, 19, 5, subtract, that's 14 is the difference. 14 times 3, 30, 12, 42. Haha! Live math on the pod. Never a good idea. Pacers were a ridiculous plus 42 from 3. The Rockets had no business even being in this game. You hit a couple more threes in this game, and the Rockets win this one. That's how simple it was, man. You just can't play that way in today's NBA. And so I wanted to highlight them and also shout out to Tari, Eason, and Aaron Holiday. Their continued production off the bench. Tari with 16 and 8 off the bench. Aaron Holiday with 15 points, had a few rebounds, had an assist, had a steal, 6 of 10 shooting, 3 of 6 from downtown. Aaron Holiday had 60% of the Rockets 3-pointers in this game, 3 of 6 shooting. The Rockets hit 5 threes. Aaron Holiday was 3 of them. That's how down horrendous the Rockets are as far as their 3-point shooting. Post game, Ime Udoka was asked about Jalen Green. So Jalen Green's performance in this one, not great. 5 points. So another really rough night for Jalen Green. 5 points, 2 of 7 shooting, 1 of 2 at the free throw line. Missed all 3 of his threes. 1 rebound, 2 assists, 1 steal. Minus 19 in his 20 minutes played. Ime Udoka sat Jalen Green for almost 12 minutes straight in the first half. He was subbed out just under 5 minutes to go in the first quarter, and he returned with like 5:01 to play in the second. So sat for 12 minutes straight in the first half, and then same thing in the second half. He sat with just under 5 minutes to go in the third quarter, and then he didn't return. So he was asked about whether they had given any consideration to bring him off the bench and kind of asked about his struggles post-game after this one.
Coach, it seems like Jones in the midst of a real struggle. Has there been any thought to potentially bring him off the bench, get him going with the second unit, or how's that going to play out?
No, we had not thought about that. I don't know if he's getting the best looks, but second guessing, for sure you can see that. you want to be aggressive initially, but you have to be able to do both. And I think it's times struggling to read what they're doing, pass up some looks and, force some others. And so just kind of continue to improve in that area, read the game and take what it gives you. At times, if you have the open shot, the first look you get is a lot of times the best one. And so it was something to grow into and get better at, but teams are putting one of their better defenders on him and paying attention to him. And obviously with him playing that way, if he was playing the other way, we obviously wouldn't struggle as much offensively and have to lean on other guys as much or play other guys' minutes. So continue to keep him confident, continue to improve in certain areas, and he'll take a step eventually.
Okay, a lot to unpack from what Ime Udoka had to say there. I do want to highlight here. So not only was Jalen struggling offensively in this game, unfortunately, which has become kind of the norm as of late, but defensively, things did not look good either. It's not for lack of effort, but the Pacers are one of those teams in the NBA. Pacers, the Hawks, the Kings, the Warriors, and the Spurs a little bit. These are teams that really move the basketball and move without the ball pretty well. And they move, they relocate, they slip a lot of screens, all of the above, right? And the Rockets have struggled with each of those teams respectively this season. So, Jalen really got lost on some defensive coverages early where it resulted in wide open three-pointers for the Pacers. And you cannot give the number one offense in the NBA even, you can't give them any space to get a three off. And so the Pacers got rolling and were hot from three early, in large part due to some defensive breakdowns and miscommunications by the Rockets. And Jalen Green was responsible for a few of those early on, leading to some open threes for Nesmith, for Haliburton. It was painful to witness pretty early on. So that's unfortunate. But Ime was very point blank when asked about potentially bringing Jalen off the bench. He was like, no, we're not doing it. But at this point, and to follow up on what else he said, right? He highlighted the fact that he is not taking good shots at times. He's forcing things. The decision making has not been great. And he highlights the fact that he didn't shy away from saying that this team would be in a better position if Jalen was playing the way that they need him to play, right? And that they wouldn't have to lean on other guys as much. Everything Ime Udoka said was true. I did like that he said that the one thing that he's trying to do is keep Jalen confident. But here's the problem. When you bench your starting two guard for 12 straight minutes in the first half, and then when you routinely bench him in the second half and don't even let him close out games, this Rockets team is stuck between a rock and a hard place because there are two very clear directives for this team this year. And this is why I am not envious of the position Ime Udoka has been put in. The team wants to win basketball games, and they want to be a competitive basketball team. That's part of phase 2 of this rebuild. I get that. And they're doing that. Credit to them. 15-13, above 500, well ahead of schedule. This team's directive is also to try and develop talent. And right now, they are torn between winning games or developing talent and trying to cultivate and basically fix Jalen Green. That's kind of where they're at. Because for the last 2 years, if Jalen was in a funk, cool. He's still getting 35 minutes a night. He's able to go out there and still get 20-plus shot attempts and shoot himself out of a funk, and he could have these lulls where he was struggling offensively, and then he'd just get right back to it because it was just the Jalen KPJ show for the last couple of years. Now, the Rockets are not afforded that luxury. And so you'll see it, either in the first quarter of a game or sometimes in the third quarter. You'll see there's points in the game where it really feels like the Rockets are making a concerted push or effort to get Jalen Green going, where they run a few sets for him. They put the ball in his hands. Fred starts playing like the off-guard role, and Jalen's running like heavy pick and roll with Alp or get some isolation touches. Or even previously, before kind of being removed from that role, he would have his opportunities with the second unit, right? Maybe Jalen can't get it going with the first unit, comes out early, comes back with the second unit, and then it was supposed to be the Jalen Green show with the second unit, right? He would have a solid 4 to 5 minutes of run where it's just him and the second unit and 5 out spacing, and he was supposed to be able to take advantage of those opportunities and routinely couldn't. So now Ime Udoka is tasked with this really difficult decision of how many more wins are you willing to sacrifice to continue trying to give Jalen this confidence, because it feels like they're kind of stuck in the middle. because I think they've got to go one way with it or not. Like you can't bench Jalen for 12 minutes in the first half and expect it to not impact his confidence. There's a shot from last night's game that's doing the rounds, and it's during a timeout, and Alperen Sengun has his arm around Jalen Green, and Jalen just looks just so out of it. And it really does kind of break my heart, because I want this kid to be so good. And I know he wants to be good, right? Like, I have never once, and I never will question, like, Jalen's work ethic, what, like, his desire to be great. Like, I really do. Like, he works hard. Everything I know about him, everything I know, I've heard about him from his camp, from his circle, from the coaches, he works. He does what they ask him to do. It's just not translating right now. He's struggling, in a big way on the court. And I think a big part of it now at this point is confidence. It's mental. He sees, he's getting these wide open looks. He's getting opportunities, and they're just not falling. And when Jalen Green's shot isn't falling, there's just not much else that he provides currently. He's improved as a defender. He's improved as a playmaker, sure. But there are other players that do those things much better than he does, to where if he's not scoring the ball, then you're almost forced, if you're Ime Udoka, you're forced to put in other guys to give you a chance to win the game. And that's what is routinely happening now. So the Rockets are stuck between deciding how many reps are they willing to give Jalen Green to try and get him out of this funk, to renew his confidence, or giving those minutes and those reps to other players who are more equipped to help you win basketball games right now. And that's where the Rockets are at. And it's a tough place to be. It really is. And I think there is probably some merit to just ripping the Band-Aid all the way off and maybe running Jalen Green with the second unit a little bit. But the problem is, you don't exactly have a player who is perfectly equipped to slide into that starting role. It would make sense if it was Tari Eason. If Tari Eason was 100% healthy, I'd be all for it. If you could give Tari Eason 30-plus minutes a night right now, and he wasn't a game-time decision before every single game, I'd say at this point the switch should happen, because Tari Eason produces, he defends at a high level. The team looks really good when he's out there. Play Tari Eason, make Jalen Green your sixth man, make that the switch, call it a day. See how it happens. See what it looks like. But the problem also is, the moment you make that call, whether it was for Tari Eason in this hypothetical scenario, whether it's for Aaron Holiday, it's not going to be for Cam Whitmore. Calm down, y'all. Like, I hate to break that to you right now. It's not going to be Cam, even though Cam looks really good and should probably get a crack at the rotation sometime soon. Once the toothpaste is out of the tube, you can't put it back in. And right now, it feels like the Rockets are slowly creeping towards that point where Ime Udoka has to do something with the starting lineup, because he's basically already doing it. Like, for all intents and purposes, Jalen Green isn't a starter. He's not getting starter-level minutes. Being a starter in the NBA is basically a I don't want to say it's a novelty. I can't think of the word for it. This is when I get to the tail end of a podcast and then I start forgetting vocabulary words. It's so annoying. Being a starter doesn't matter. It's about who finishes the game. Who starts doesn't matter. It's about who finishes. And I can't think of the damn word that I was trying to figure out for that point that I was trying to make. But for all intents and purposes, like, Jalen doesn't matter. Jalen doesn't matter in his role right now because he's not finishing games, right? Like, that's the painful part. So whoever starts the game really doesn't matter. You can start the game and play the first 2 minutes and you're still a starter. But if you're not getting starters level minutes, if you're not having a role of a starter on a team, if you're not closing out games, then you're not really part of the starting group, or you're not part of the finishing group, which should matter a lot more. And it's unfortunate because it looks like Jalen's confidence is completely shot right now. And I want him to get back on track, and I just don't know what the answer is. And I hope Ime Udoka is able to find an answer, but he's also kind of straddling the fence right now between wins and keeping and developing Jalen Green. And this is the same conversation we had earlier this season when Ime Thompson was struggling right out of the gate. Ime Thompson is a rookie. And the moment Aaron Holiday stepped in and took those minutes away from Ime Thompson after his injury, guess what? The Rockets looked a lot better, because the Rockets were trying to A, win games, and B, do it with a rookie backup point guard who was getting 15 minutes a night. And it did not look great at times. So are you willing to sacrifice the developmental reps and the runtime for guys like Jalen and Ime, who clearly need more time to get up to speed, versus the veterans who are kind of ready to win right now? And that's the question that this Rockets team is going to be faced with. As long as Jalen Green is struggling, as we navigate the rest of the season, what do you do with Jalen Green? Do you pull the plug on him as a starter and bring him off the bench? Do you try and trade him? Do you completely give up on him? I don't think I'm quite on that at that point yet, as far as completely giving up on Jalen. I'd rather take a look at him off the bench before this team completely gives up on him. But hard decisions are going to have to be made with this team sooner rather than later. I give it to the end of this homestand, where if Jalen is still struggling, I give it to the end of the homestand before we see maybe a starting lineup change at this point this season. I don't think Ime Udoka is the type of coach to mess around. And even though he said that right now there are no considerations to bring Jalen Green off the bench, that's not the type of answer that you can waffle about. That's not the type of answer where you can say, oh, well, maybe we'll see. Like, no, you go out and you say, hell no, we're not considering it. Even if they absolutely have considered it behind the scenes. Come on, read through the lines here. They've absolutely talked about what they need to do to get the best out of Jalen. So maybe a benching is coming, because he's been getting benched at the end of games. So it might do him some good to just come off the bench to start the game and play against those second units and have a chance to see the game from a new perspective, a new role as a sixth man. We'll see what happens with Jalen Green. We'll see what happens with this team, whether or not they can add some shooting this season. But those are the final thoughts from this one. The 123-117 loss to the Indiana Pacers. NBA's #1 offense gets the best of the NBA's #2 defense in this one. As always, thank you so much for checking out the show. And I want your thoughts. Give me your thoughts on everything Ime Udoka said post-game. Give me your thoughts on Jalen Green's role moving forward. I didn't include that bit. Just all of it down below in the YouTube comments. But as always, thank you so much for checking out the show. If you haven't done so yet, please consider subscribing wherever you listen to your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Google, the Odyssey app, free and available on all podcast platforms. We're also on YouTube. Go to YouTube, search Locked On Rockets, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And shout out to my guy, Josh, who I met at the Rockets game, I almost forgot at the very tail end. I'm so sorry, Josh. It's been a busy 24 hours, busy holiday season. With rocking the Oilers jacket, works for Credit Karma, living the sweet life at Toyota Center. Shout out to my guy, Josh. It was cool running into you at the game. Sorry you have to live in the Bay Area and deal with all the Warriors fans. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And we look forward to having you back right here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball.